you mentioned you joined Client Ascension back in March. You implemented some things, most importantly, fixing your offer. And then as of today, or at least more recently, there was a 16-day period where you had collected $21,000, which is more than your record revenue month before coming into the program, which you mentioned was 15K. Obviously on track for a lot more than that, but in a 16-day period to collect 21K is super impressive. So break that down for us. How do you make that happen? What's going on, guys? Andre Hakel Jr. here, one of the co-founders at Client Ascension. And today I have my friend Jason, who's got some pretty crazy results he's been experiencing in the last 16 days to be specific. It sounds like, at least according to what Jason's told me off camera and has been updating his student success coach in Client Ascension about, he's collected $21,000 in revenue in the last 16 days. And we're here to talk to Jason to see how that all happened. Welcome to the show, bro.
Yeah, appreciate it, Andre, man. Excited to be on here.
Yeah, dude. So talk us through. We'll get into the results and how you collected 21K in 16 days, because that's a pretty remarkable feat. It's on track for over 40 grand in the entire month. But like, where did you start? Like, let's just start with the basics. Like, what do you do for business? When did you start it? How did you start? And then we'll shift the story from there.
For sure. Good question, man. Yeah, so I do cold call and appointment setting, lead generation. So I have a team of cold callers that help me out. Been doing it for almost a year now. Initially started it, I got a background in sales, so I worked corporate sales for a while. And then I was like, you know what? Like kind of like fractional BDR work was like the idea at first. I was like, there's a really good big need for this that a lot of people need. And so basically from there, I kind of left that job, started up the agency, and ever since then, yeah, been killing it.
Dude, that's awesome. And when did you join? Because I know you've been in Client Ascension for a little while. Dude, you got to add a profile picture if you want, because most guys I just recognize by their face. This is actually the first time I'm seeing your face. So, yeah, add a profile picture, but that's a side note. But when did you join the program, and how did you hear about it? Why did you decide to join? Let's get into that.
For sure, man. So I joined 6 months ago. I joined because I know a dude named Max who's got an email lead gen agency, and I know he was killing it. I think you actually interviewed him as well. And so he wrecked the program to me because initially when I joined, I wasn't really like an agency. Like, I mean, I was, but I wasn't like propositioning myself like as a full-on agency. So I joined to kind of get like the systems in place, like to be able to scale and have a real offer and things like that.
Yeah, it makes sense, bro. And when was that again? Just remind the audience specifically. That was
It was like late March.
late March. Okay. And so when you joined the program, like, what did you start at, by the way, revenue wise? Like, what was like your record revenue month before you joined Client Ascension?
So when I started, I was doing about 15K a month.
Okay, 15K a month. And then what were some things immediately after joining that you did or implemented, or like guys go through the program, they might implement a VSL for the first time, or they might restructure their offer, or they might start doing cold email. Like, what were some of the things you implemented right away into your business after joining?
For sure. Yeah. So VSL was one thing, didn't have a VSL. I would say the like right off the rip, one of the main things was like you guys were like, you have to get a better offer, a more concrete offer. And yeah, I was kind of charging previously like by the hour, and it was a little difficult to keep track of everything just from my own perspective. It was like how I was doing. And so we ended up changing the offer into like a pay per appointment type thing, started getting a lot more leads to respond just based on that offer, of course, money back guarantee with it and everything. So I would say like off the rip, just that one like quick fix just added a whole lot of revenue and like a whole lot of value right away. And then obviously making the VSL and changing the landing page and things like that helped as well.
Well, yeah, and that all stems from the offer, right? Because you have the offer, which is what you're trying to communicate through a VSL, through a landing page, through what were your main channels for lead generation?
So Upwork.
Upwork. Okay, cool. Is that something you had done before joining the program? Because I know a lot of guys in Client Ascension do Upwork, and we also have training on getting clients from Upwork. Like, where did you really like refine those skills? And is that something you taught in Client Ascension? Where'd that originate from?
Yeah, so I had been running, that was like my only
Right.
client acquisition channel before here was Upwork. And then, yeah, just like refining the offer on there was crazy, like the outreach on that. So that helped a lot.
That's awesome, bro. Yeah, I bet just having a better offer, running that same strategy, worked really well for you. So let's fast forward to today. You mentioned you joined Client Ascension back in March. You implemented some things, most importantly, fixing your offer. And then as of today, or at least more recently, there was a 16-day period where you had collected $21,000, which is more than your record revenue month before coming into the program, which you mentioned was 15K. Obviously on track for a lot more than that, but in a 16-day period to collect 21K is super impressive. So break that down for us. How do you make that happen?
Yeah, man, great question. So really it boils down to just kind of, refining the sales calls. So I think I was able to get in on the sales calls, pick out a few things, this and that to kind of be able to close more. And then the other thing is, driving results. So like getting great case studies and testimonials. So like a key factor in why I was able to do so well this week was referral, right? So I had one of my solar, we've been like really honing in on the solar niche, had
Okay.
some killer results for one of my clients. He referred me to two of his guys, right? Taking those guys on. And I think it's just like, that's a great way. Obviously we'll continue with him, hopefully continue with the new guys he recs. And then it's just kind of like a branching down from there.
Flywheel. Yeah, it's a flywheel. And then at the same time, you have new clients coming in from marketing and sales as well, like outside of referrals?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, and so like that's something that I actually teach to a lot of guys in the program because I'm most responsible for like customer success and fulfillment. If you look at like the companies I'm a part of with like Client Ascension and ListKit, you have marketing, sales, fulfillment. That's every business. I focus primarily on fulfillment. And what I tell the guys on my fulfillment team are like monitor churn rate. We want to have low churn, but like I'm not obsessed with getting churn down to zero because I know that's impossible in the businesses that we're running. Let's get churn low. And then more importantly, let's replace churn with upsells, right? Like get basically capitalizing on success for existing clients and turning those like the goodwill that you essentially get from getting results for your clients into referrals and then into case studies, which then can be passed back to marketing and sales to continue fueling the results. So a good customer success team is going to be self-sufficient because they are replacing churn. Meaning, if you don't have any new clients coming in from marketing and sales, the business is not dying because even though you're churning clients every month, some of the clients are then upselling or referring new business, which replaces that churn. And so if you just stack on now your marketing and sales, which even if you have a lousy marketing and sales team, you're definitely bringing in some new business every month. The problem is when you have a lousy marketing and sales team bringing in only a little bit of business, and then your churn rate is so high and you're not upselling and not referring, so you're at a negative, right? That's where you see companies start to not grow. Whereas if CS is reliable, customer success is reliable, self-sufficient on its own, marketing and sales, it's like whatever they bring in is just bonus. So it sounds like you're able to capitalize on that through generating referrals and case studies.
Exactly, man. Yep, just fulfilling for these guys. And then another thing is what I think as well is like just honing in on that onboarding process, right? So it's like as soon as they sign up, like we got somebody calling within 24 hours. It's another big thing, like we got through the program, right? Is like just making sure that process is dialed in, streamlined. As soon as they pay, leads start coming in like as soon as possible.
So yeah, so walk us through your actual service because I think a lot of people listening could value from this. I'm even thinking about how we might apply this to Client Ascension or ListKit. So what does it look like? I sign up for your services. What do I get?
Cool. Great question. Yeah, man. So basically, as soon as possible, whenever you're ready, we have an onboarding call. We dive a little deeper into your offer and your ICP. It's a done for you sales process, right? So if you don't have a list of leads, we're going to scrape a list of leads for you. We're going to make some scripts for you, and we're going to start calling those leads. From there, we're going to set up quality qualified appointments on your calendar to close. We track all calls, so all calls are recorded, and then I'm in there every day as well, like listening on the sales reps, call shadowing, things like that to make sure everything's going smoothly. So really simply, it's cold call and appointment setting, agency done for you.
Very cool. Very cool, man. And so when you changed the offer, like what was the big thing that was different from the offer before versus what it is now? Because I know a lot of people listening, like they hear like, oh, we made our offer better, but what does that actually look like? Because this is just one of the things that Client Ascension does, I think, better than any other program, specifically Daniel Fazio, right? He's the one that teaches offers and his whole framework. But like what changed? Like if you could just compare the offer before to what it is now.
For sure. Yeah. So essentially, what it was before was just hire a sales rep at an hourly rate. There was nothing else more than that. So it's like, what differentiated that, or what was the like distinguishing factor from everybody else, right? There really was like nothing, at least as far as like the surface level of what that was. Now it's pay $100 per qualified appointment that actually shows up, or your money back, right? With cold calling and appointment setting. So there's a lot of value there, right? It's like, okay, now I get like a very affordable appointment that's set for me. I have a money back guarantee. Like there's a lot more value to that than just like sales rep that calls, at least in my opinion.
Yeah. And I'd imagine like you're seeing obviously that feedback, like you're getting that feedback in the marketing and the sales process by you're probably seeing an increased amount of calls being booked from the messaging itself, and then you're probably also seeing an increase in close rate, I'd imagine. And then
Course. And yeah, like,
oh,
and
for
people
sure.
like outright say it, right? Like your offer is very interesting. Like it sounds good. That's the reason I booked the call. So like it's kind of cool when that happens.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's like literally it's an offer that is so unique that is generating enough curiosity to get someone to book in just off that alone.
Exactly.
Very cool, man. So one of the other things I love to talk about on interviews like this with successful client ascension students is like, what are some keys to success when joining a program like Client Ascension? Because there are guys in the program that might even come through with a similar offer as yours, like cold calling or appointment setting, that are at the same point in the program as you are today, but with no results to show for, right? That's the reality of a lot of coaching programs is the results are not always the same, right? A lot of it depends on how the student actually takes the information and implements it and how they go through the program. So what are some things that you found to work really well? Like how often do you go through the content? How often do you go to the coaching calls? How do you work with your student success coach? Like how do you use Client Ascension to help your business continue growing?
For sure, man. Yeah. So for me, it was like step one is I went through all the content, making sure I had that down. And then it's hopping on the calls. And again, it's kind of hard to make every call. So you have to kind of focus on like what call is relevant for you for that week. Come in with questions like already thought of, already prepared. So when it's your turn, you're not just like, thinking about what to ask. You actually have something valuable. And then like also like just implementing like the feedback, right? Like sometimes it's really good advice and I don't know. Sometimes I find myself like, oh, I'm too busy. This might take a little too long. But if you actually do it, it ends up working very well. So I would say like, show up to the calls, and then actually listen to the advice and the feedback and implement it. And then you're gonna have success if you do that.
Is there something a coach told you or something that you learned by going through some of the content where you were like, nah, like that's not gonna work, but you implement it anyways and were like surprised by the results?
That's a good question. Honestly, like VSLs. Like I was never like a believer in VSLs. I was like, like I don't think I need to do that. But then when I got it up, a lot of people had mentioned kind of like the offer, like the same thing. Like, oh, I saw your VSL, and it was really cool. That was one of the reasons why I booked a call. So I would say that's one of the things that has certainly helped my business. Where at first I was kind of like a non-believer in.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean the VSLs is I think a lot of the hesitation too is like it's not easy work, right? It's not like, oh, that's so simple. Let me just go get that done real quick and see if it works. It's like you actually have to sit down, write the script, get it reviewed, show up to the coaching calls, like get it critiqued, probably have it sent back for editing, rewrite it, and then record it in a way that's like super professional, highly edited, right? It's not easy. It's like it's probably a week long project, and so it's really easy to just write that off and be like, nah, that's not really going to help. Let me just focus on some other things. And that's a problem that a lot of business owners face is just like not being willing to sit down and do the work that is required. So props to you for implementing it because to your point, it has definitely had an impact on sales and marketing, which is driving a lot of the growth you're seeing now. So very cool, man.
Agreed.
Um,
Appreciate that.
yeah, dude, props to you. I mean, again, like I said, there are students that go through the program that get results, and then there's some that don't. And I think the biggest variable in all of this is we know the program works, we know the content is valuable, we know the strategies also work because we implement them every single day at our own businesses, which the Liskin and Client Ascension, this is like very recent, but in the last 30 days have done over 700K in revenue collected. So like this stuff works at the highest level. It's just the student being willing to implement it and stay disciplined enough to stay consistent and persistent, right? So, anyways, bro, you've been at it for a couple of months now, and I'd imagine this trend is just going to continue. Like, what are your goals? I guess before the end of the year, what's your wildly important goal, and kind of what's your roadmap to hit it?
Yeah, great question. So goals right now, I would say I'd really like to hit 70K monthly before end or like at end of year. So it's a little ambitious, but I think it's possible just kind of where we're at, a lot of the growth we've seen. Just got to keep fulfilling, like you said, build out that web, right? Like keep getting the clients fulfilled and then just continue to build out the sales and marketing. So yeah, I think that's like the goal right there.
That's awesome, bro. Yeah, I mean, I would say, and I learned this concept from, well, his name is Benjamin Hardy, but he spoke at an event of Myron Golden's. They're both online entrepreneurs. They're both super successful. But Benjamin Hardy was speaking about his book at this event called 10X is easier than 2X. And so it's like when you set goals, like 70K, it might seem ambitious, but it's like set that goal to 100K or 150K or 200K and watch what happens. Like you might land short, but short might be like if you set your goal at 150K, short landing short might be 70K. And then all of a sudden you're at where you thought you were already setting an ambitious goal. And we've really witnessed that with our businesses. We started to set way more lofty goals to the point where it's like this just seems stupid. Like this is kind of like just going to lead to disappointment. Why are we doing it like that? But then it just starts to get you to think of different ways that you can hit it. Cause to me, it's like there's a lot of opportunities for you, bro. Like you could quickly 10x your business if you make the right partnerships. Like if you go to some of these bigger cold email agencies, let's say, and say, hey, all your clients, they probably could get more results if you dialed those leads and you start offering that as like a bolt-on service to already growing and existing agencies that do something like complementary to what you do, dude, you could expand your client base overnight, like double, 10x type growth. So there's lots of ideas and ways to grow. Just set more ambitious goals and you'll find yourself being more creative, which then leads you to finding these opportunities you probably didn't see before.
I love it. Yeah, man, that'd be sick. I agree. Like, I think it makes sense just to be like, but fuck it. Like, I'm gonna hit 100K or whatever it is, 150K, and then shoot for it. And then, like you said, even if it just falls a little bit short, it's like still did great. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly, bro. So, anyways, dude, thank you so much for the time. This was awesome. I mean, the results are super impressive. Like I said, I really didn't have too much context coming into this because like the student success coaches are who you're really working with more closely than anything else. And all I got was a message from Chris being like, dude, like Jason is crushing it. Like literally in the last 16 days, he did $21,000 in revenue. You got to get him on an interview. And so I'm like, hell yeah, I love to hear that. And I love to hop on and see like, how do you do it? Because then it's just going to create content for other students that are going through the program now and will eventually go through the program to see like what results are possible when you implement this stuff. So thank you for doing that, bro.
Yeah, appreciate you having me, man. It was great to be on here, and look forward to continue to grow this thing.
Awesome, bro. All right, man. Take it easy. Keep growing. And I'm sure we'll have you back on to talk about maybe 210K in revenue collected in 16 days. Like I
Sounds
said,
good,
10x
boss.
goals, bro. All right.
All
Thank you.
right, sounds
Good
good.
to see you, bro.
Peace.
Peace.